You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account, from Nvidia to VIX and everything in between. If it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back once again. Time to rock out with your Hot Options Report for Wednesday, February 18th, aka one day after the legendary Vol Deathmatch 2.0. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Radio Network, your home for your favorite options podcast. And of course, if you want to get your hands dirty, you want to have a little bit of fun, you want to check out the Vol Deathmatch 2.0, only place to do that, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. And of course, if you want to crunch all this data for yourselves, maybe you don't trust our numbers. Maybe you want to run your own reports. Maybe you just want to kick the tires on some of the best data in the biz. TheHotOptionsReport.com is the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. As we get on out to the number 10 spot on our countdown today. Was it a banger day? The answer was no. Cost you 461,000 contracts to break into the top 10 today. That gets us to our old pal Micron. Micron back on the rampage to the upside, up $21.17 or 5.3% to close at 420.95. So just a wild year continues in Micron. They are now up 105.5 handles or 33.5% just so far in the first 6 or so weeks of the year. Wild stuff out here in Micron. And the hot option on yet another wild day in Micron, 18,000 of the 420s, a now in the money call. These are expiring on Friday. Average price for these, $9.42. Now, they are not giving these away, obviously, but the stock is on the rampage, and it got as high as nearly 428 today. So that certainly makes that $9.42 make a little bit more sense, pun intended. Can we get back up to that level? After all, you spent nearly $10 for these calls if you bought them, so you got to get to pretty much at 430 for break even. Can we threaten that level again by the end of the week? Well, we'll keep an eye on Micron to find out. As we find out what our number 9 offender is today, we're keeping it in the M Tech names. It's the artist formerly known as Facebook. Yep, it's Meta. Closing today, 643.22, up nearly $4 or 0.6%. Apparently, Zuckerberg having to testify, not weighing on the stock today, putting up 557,000 contracts for the number 9 spot out there today. The hot option in Meadowland, it was 36, almost 37,000 of the 640 calls. Average price for these, $226. Obviously, this was earlier in the session because they went out worth at least $3.22 today, listeners. So a good do if you bought them. If you sold them, you're sweating a little bit. As we keep climbing to the number 8 spot, listeners, it's AMD. This one's been on a wild trajectory so far this year as well. They're down, they're up, they're down again. Today they are down again, off $3 or 1.5%, closing at pretty much $200 exactly, $200.12 to be precise. This puts them off 10.5% now year to date. So a wild start to the year for them, putting up 573,000 contracts for the number 8 spot in AMD today. The hot option in good old AMD, 26,000 of the 195 puts. Once again, we're going to the dark side with the puts. Average price for these, $2.68. The low today was 195 exactly. So that certainly makes those 195 puts make a little bit more sense right now. We'll keep an eye on these. Can we get back to that strike and threaten it again? We shall see, listeners, as we see what the number 7 spot is on our countdown today. Mr. Softy, a rare green day for Mr. Softy. They have been beset by red for most of this year, listeners, but popping 2 3/4 today to close at 399.60. Year to date, they're still off 73 handles, or about 15.5%. So again, a rough start to the year for Mr. Softy, putting up 610,000 contracts for the number 7 spot in our countdown today. The hot option in Microsoft, 33,000 of the 402 halves. These are, of course, the new 0-day contracts, so they are expiring today. Obviously, we went out shy of that 402.5 strike. So if you sold those, that was the right play. It looks like paper was selling these for an average price of about 52 cents. So high today was 402.5. So if you sold these, you were sweating for a little bit, but they ended up working out pretty well. How about you, listeners? Have you been trading these new 0-day contracts? According to our Twitter poll, 43% of our audience said no. Are you in these? Or are you still playing the wait and see game? Hit us up. Let us know as we find out what was number 6 on our countdown today. Seems like there's always a div play sneaking in somewhere today. It is number 6. It is DHT Holdings, closing $16.68, up 41 cents or 2.5%, putting up 688,000 contracts for the number 6 spot in our countdown today. The hot option on a div play, 221,000 of the 13 calls. Again, you can see how distortive these div plays are. Nearly 250,000 contracts just in the 13 calls, and obviously a lot more when you add up the total. So we'll keep climbing away from number 6 to the number 5 spot on our countdown today. A name you're probably more familiar with. This is the Fruit Company, closing today $264.35, up about half a buck today. That puts them off 6 2/3 or 2.5% year to date. So it has been a bit of a struggle so far this year for Apple, putting up 777,000 contracts for the number 5 spot in our countdown today. The hot option in the Fruit Company today, listeners, you knew it expired today. The question is, which option, which strike? It was 68,000 of the 267 halves. So these obviously expired worthless today if you rode them through the close. Looks like paper was selling these for an average price of about 18 cents. If you sold them, you got close. You got to 266.82, but you never really broke through this strike. So you didn't get much for them. You only got 18 cents, but if you rode it through the close, you kept that 18 cents as we keep climbing to the number 4 spot. This is another name that was climbing today. This is another name that's had a rough go so far this year, but putting up some green today. This is Palantir, closing 135.38, up 2 1/3 or 1 3/4% today. For the number 4 spot on our countdown, putting up 817,000 contracts. The hot option in Palantir today. Remember, Palantir not in the list of the new Monday, Wednesday weeklies, so only Friday for your weekly selection, and that's what people were choosing today. 55,000 of the 140s. Again, expiring on Friday. Average price for these, $2.17. Looks like paper might have been selling these, which is a bold choice because the stock got as high as $141 today. So these were $1 almost in the money earlier in the session. Obviously, as the day went on, selling them was the right way to go, but it is Palantir. It could threaten that 140 strike at any time between now and Friday. We'll keep an eye on these, listeners. Would you be a seller or a buyer for $2.17? Are you willing to step in front of that Palantir freight train for $2.17? Hit us up. Let us know as we find out what the number 3 name is on our countdown today. It's the Amazonians. 204.80 is where it closed, up $3.64 or 1.8%. So apparently the news that Warren Buffett and company cutting ties with the Amazonians, dumping most of their stake, not really weighing on the stock out there today, putting up 1.24 million contracts for the number 3 spot in our countdown today. The hot option, 99, nearly 100,000 of the 207 half calls. These were expiring today, as you would expect, listeners. Average price for these, 23 cents. Again, looks like paper was selling these. So looks like we have a little bit of playing fast and loose with the 0-day contracts, hitting the bid for 23 cents. And again, the stock got as high as 206.86 intraday. So you got close, but no cigar. So selling was clearly the right choice, even if you had to sweat a little bit earlier in the session. As we keep climbing to the number 2 spot on our countdown today, it's Tesla. A rare, quiet net day for Tesla, only up 60 cents or not even 0.15% to close at $411.22 today. Putting up 2.16 million contracts for the number 2 spot on our countdown, the hot option in Tesla land today, 165,000 of the 415s. Again, these were expiring today. Average price for these, about $1.55. Once again, selling was clearly the right choice if you rode them through the end of the session. That seems like what paper was up to out there. So once again, we're getting some harvesting of the old risk premium in these 0-day options, which is kind of interesting. We used to see a lot of rolling the bones to the upside. Now we're seeing folks potentially playing with some fire on these near-dated contracts, which is, again, kind of interesting. We'll keep an eye on this as we gaze upward to the number 1 spot on our countdown today. Once again, it is Nvidia. And we do have to look up because the stock was up $3 and a penny, or 1.6% to close $187.98 today, putting up 2.49 million contracts. For the number 1 spot in our countdown today, the hot option in Nvidia, 277,000 of the 190. So slightly out of the money calls, at least where we closed. Average price for these, 51 cents. Obviously, if you rode them through the end of the day, selling them was the way to go. But it looks like paper might have been buying these. And you had some opportunities earlier in the session to get out. The stock got as high as 190.37. So you could have bailed on these for at least, I would assume, 51 cents earlier in the session before things fell out of bed. So interesting paper here in Nvidia. A lot of interesting paper lighting up our top 10 today. What caught your eye out there today, listener? Maybe it was a different name that we didn't profile, in which case you want to check out thehotoptionsreport.com to run your own reports and your own analysis out there. Back again tomorrow, kicking things off with the option block. Our buddy, the Flow Master, fresh off the Vol Deathmatch 2.0, will be joining us tomorrow, as well as This Week in Futures Options, before we're back again after the closing bell. Another episode of the Hot Options Report. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.